Hey, how you doing today? My name is Relyea and thank you so much for stopping by. I just recently completed the 5th Pantheon with all 4 different bindings, one at a time, but I was able to do it. I got all the bindings, and so now I want to share with you my tips and tricks that helped me get through this. And it took me a little while. It took a lot of time and work in just trying over and over, a lot of failures. But I feel like if I had these tips, it would have made things a heck of a lot easier. So starting first things first, like if you're just starting out, you don't even know like which binding you should start out with, I would suggest going nail binding first. And the reason being is you want to get used to not having a powerful nail. And then after that, moving over to the charm binding. And the reason for that is once you already have a nail that's not very powerful, you want to continue with that. So in that way, you know kind of roughly how many hits it takes to take down the bosses. It will make life a lot easier going from nail to then charms. I personally, after that, went to the shell binding afterwards because then you can start getting through the bosses a lot faster. You've already kind of dialed in all of the different bosses' attacks and different things like that, and so you'll be taking less damage as it is. And then last but not least, I went with soul last, and honestly, I was able to get through soul on the first try, or maybe it was the second try, but it was really, I think it actually was first try. It was really quick. After doing it in this order. So I would highly suggest going in that order. To each their own, but that was just me. So other than the order, it's really important to know like kind of which bosses are the most difficult, what do you need to practice, and what's the best way to practice. So let's go over to the Hall of Gods. Alright, so now we're in the Hall of Gods. I want to share with you the bosses that were the most difficult and will need the most practice ahead of time. The first one being right here, the Collector. The Collector is going to give you problems on almost every single one of the bindings, and that is because almost every single one of the bindings, the Collector proves to be a challenge because you're not able to get much soul, and if you've got the nail binding on, you're not able to one-shot the primal aspids. If you've got the charm binding on, you're not able to one-shot the primal aspids just with like a normal attack. So what do? The answer is that you need to do the Cyclone Slash, and what I mean by that is when you hold your charge attack, you press down just like that. You keep pressing spamming the attack button, and it will make your Cyclone Slash last longer. And so this is gonna just completely save you and just make this fight go so much faster. In fact, it's gonna make a lot of boss fights go faster if you know which bosses you can use the Cyclone Slash on. So let me show you how to get through this pretty quickly. Okay, so when we fight the Collector, you want to get your Cyclone Slash ready, and if a primal aspid comes out, just use your Cyclone Slash right away. If something else comes out, try to use it as late as possible, so in that way you can get as much damage off as you can to the Collector. You want to save as much soul as you can for later, and if you're too far away from the Collector, that's fine. There we go. Get as many hits off as you can, and then get ready for the next drop. There we go, just like that. Wait for it, and as late as you can without taking damage. And then get ready for the next one, and that's it. That's the Collector. Just note that whenever you down the Collector, it's automatically gonna do 3 jars after that almost every single time. And then also whenever things get a little crazy, that's when you use your spells to clear out everything. All right, you'll be just fine. The next fight that gave me the most trouble by far was Markoth, and the best thing you can do is practice on Ascended just over and over, and you should probably be doing this daily just to get that muscle memory up. Just get your great slashes in and just learn where you can deal the most damage, because if he's at the top of the map, you can actually deal a ton of damage because he'll just get stuck against the top of the screen. If you can get him stuck right here, you can deal so much damage, and it's such a good thing to know. Also, when you do your spells, you want to try and get the 2 hits off whenever you can, like this. Boom. Usually that'll get you 2 hits. Next up, we have Grey Prince Zote, and I don't really have any tips in particular that's going to help you for, like, it's not really a different fight. It's just a little bit more difficult because of the different bindings. I feel like this is one you can just practice over and over, and you'll be just fine. For whatever reason, the Failed Champion caught me off guard a couple of times, so let me show you a couple of quick tips for this one. So first off, you can usually get a Cyclone Slot slash right off the bat. If he jumps away from you, you jump over. It's all the normal stuff. But then just like that, you get your Cyclone Slash. You're good to go. Wait for another jump. There you go. Another slash. The big tip is that whenever he goes down, you can use this. You can just stun lock him just like this. You can literally just do this over and over again. Just get one heal or one little bit of soul, and then just do this over and over again, and he'll just stay here. You can just do this over and over again. But if you try to go for 2 heals, or you try to use your dream nail twice, he'll get back up. And then you're gonna be all upset that you have to do that round all over again. You try to do it twice, and then you try to stun lock him again. There's just not enough time to do both. So there you go. You get a couple of spells off on him, and then he'll fall down, and it goes so much faster. Just get as much soul as you can. Don't be afraid to use your spells. It's not that bad. Last but not least, you've got Nightmare King Grim, you got Pure Vessel, and you have the Absolute Radiance. And there's really nothing to say here other than practicing those bosses over and over again. You really want to be practicing these late stage bosses because you really need to be able to keep up your health and get through these fights. Every single chance, every crack that you have at the Radiance is just like one more chance. You're gonna do it. I believe in you. So now we're gonna go over to the charms. What charms do I suggest for each one of these different bindings? Let's get into it. So for the nail binding, I went with Shaman Stone, Spell Twister, Quick Slash, and Mark of Pride. And so the whole idea is that it's mainly you're going to be doing a lot of damage with your spells, but you're also going to be able to fill up your spells fairly quickly. That's just what worked for me, having that Mark of Pride, having that extra distance, because I don't want to get too close to some of these enemies. And then Quick Slash, we want to get those repetitions, we want to get those hits in. It worked for me for the nail. Obviously for the charm binding, you get no charms. You're just gonna have to live without it. You're gonna do okay. I believe in you. For the mask binding, I would suggest you go with the Unbreakable Heart. You obviously want the 2 extra masks, so that'll make it so you have 6 masks total. Shaman Stone for that 50% bonus damage. Unbreakable Strength for, again, another 50% bonus damage. And last but not least, I personally enjoyed Quick Focus because I wanted to be able to heal as quickly as possible. So if I lost 2, 3 masks, whatever, I could get them back. This is what I wanted, and this worked for me. It was great. Give it a shot. Let me know how it goes for you. Last but not least, for the soul binding, you only have the 1 charge of soul, so we're not going to be doing a spell build. I went with Unbreakable Strength. I went with Quick Slash. I went with, believe it or not, Hive Blood, and last but not least, with Sprint Master. And so the reason is, one, we're trying to do as much damage as possible with our nail, and also the Hive Blood was absolutely amazing because by this point, if you're doing the last binding, you are probably not taking a ton of damage from bosses. But if you do take a damage, you don't want to use your soul for healing. You might not even have soul to heal with. So what you want to do is use the Hive Blood. Then as long as you're not taking damage twice in a row, you're totally fine. You're at 100% health almost the entire time. This was beautiful. It worked on the very first try that I used this build, and it was absolutely amazing. And so thank you guys all for sticking around this long. I've got one last bonus tip for you, but it's only going to work if you're on PC. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my PC, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so as you can see, I've got my sweet Relyea skin on, and I am modding, right? If you are modding and you're on PC, there's something really awesome that you're able to do, and that is you're able to practice the way that you're going to play. So when you're playing on console, whether you're playing on Xbox or Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, whatever, you're not able to practice with the charm binding. You're not able to practice with the nail binding. And so it can make it very, very difficult to get a feel for the different bosses. Ideally, you want to practice exactly the way that you're actually going to be playing. So if we hit the pause button on the top left, you can see that we have the easier Pantheon practice, and this is absolutely amazing. Once we turn this on, there's 2 things. So as you can see over on the far right, we can put a binding to return to Hall of Gods, and also to reload bosses. So now you can take one boss and just practice the same boss over and over and over again and not have to wait for the loading times. So that's part of it. But two, if you hit down, well, you don't want to get on the bench. Next to a bench, you can press down and S, go to one of the bindings. Let's put on Shell Binding. And now when we come out of here, actually you have to go and hit the apply button. Now when we get out of here, you can see that now I don't have all of my masks, or I can switch this over and go to the soul binding, hit apply, and now we only have one charge of soul. So now we can also practice at the P5 level. How cool is this? So you can go to any boss, and so let's say you want to fight Markoth. Instead of having to fight Markoth on Ascended, you can do it at the P5 Markoth, and you're practicing the exact way that you're going to be doing it in P5. This is such a cool thing. It's so cool. I practiced this way over and over again, and then what I did is I actually played it on my Nintendo Switch. This is it. This is by far the best way to practice and get this thing ready. All right, well, there you have it. Those are all of my main tips for how to beat P5 with each of the different bindings. Let me know if you have any of your own tips down in the comments below. I'm sure it's going to help out somebody. And I appreciate you guys just stopping by. Please be sure to subscribe for more. Thank you again. My name is Relyea, and I'll talk to you again more real soon. Thanks.